You would not have a problem if they called it civil union instead of marriage.
That's correct. I would not have a problem with it if they call it a civil union rather than marriage, because that's something that's state endorsed rather than something that is a religious institution. I don't see a religious institution being weakened in any way that way.
When it comes to shitting, you're obviously not shitting in a toilet or pissing in a toilet. Therefore, you're adding to like negative sanitation. So basically, if you're pissing or shitting in the street, somebody could step in your shit. Somebody could be exposed to your shit. They could fucking fall down and fall in your shit, and then they could be exposed to whatever gut biome is inside.
So those are all externalities, though.
Yeah, those are all hyper negatives, antisocial externalities.
So if we can say and extrapolate that the externalities from homosexual activity are net negative, why shouldn't we outlaw it?
Well, okay. So for instance, I would be very curious. So if homosexual people participated in, because we were talking about marriage, right? So let's say that there's two people.
Before you get into hypothetical, just wait a second.
I don't think this is hypothetical at all.
But before you get into that, I just need you to confirm that you just stated that we can outlaw these things based on externalities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Negative externalities.
Negative externalities. And so basically you're talking about consequences, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to clarify, but you can continue.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically what I would say is I would be curious what your negative externalities are for two gay adults. I mean, we can talk about like the origins of homosexuality and natural, the naturality of it or something like that. As a matter of fact, we probably need to in order to get to the root of this discussion. But at the same time, like I would be curious what your negative externalities are if two gay people want to get into a consenting relationship, become monogamous for a lifetime, and then basically engage in a monogamous homosexual relationship for their entire lives. What's the issue? What's the negative externality?
Okay, so let's back all the way to the rear, and I'll go forward. Does that sound fair to you?
No, I'm down for whatever.
So first and foremost, marriage as an institution was a religious institution in the United States. Do you think that that's true or not?
No, I think that's true.
Okay, it's true. So no, understanding that it's true, the primary religion in the United States has always been Christianity. It still is to this day. Do you think that it doesn't weaken the institution of their religious ceremony and their religious infrastructure in order to allow people to get married? And those people who are getting married, it's actually against the religion of Christians to allow them to.
I don't, but I want to be specific. So so for instance, like I'll concede that marriage as a concept, especially within a Christian context, and we're in a majority Christian nation, right? So basically, with that, all of that being said, it's typically thought of biblically as between a man and a woman, all that kind of stuff. If it was, let's just say that we changed it semantically, like it was literally a civil institution in a secular society, and let's just call it like a civil union, where two homosexual people could basically get, they could get into a monogamous court recognized relationship in which they basically said like, hey, for medical purposes, for partnership purposes, for administrative purposes, for tax purposes, we are a family unit now. And we want to be a family unit from birth to death, but instead of calling it marriage because we don't want to offend the sensibilities of Christians or Muslims or Jews or whatever, we're just going to call it a civil union. Do you still have the same objection, or is it just the name, or is it
for the particular portion of marriage? If you're asking me if you had a civil union so that you could have the same state benefits that people who are married have, if I would have a problem with that, the answer is no. But it's not.
Wait, so I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. You would not have a problem if they called it civil union instead of marriage?
That's correct. I would not have a problem with it if they call it a civil union rather than marriage, because that's something that's state endorsed rather than something that is a religious institution. I don't see a religious institution being weakened in any way that way. Okay? And those institutions have been paramount inside the United States as a core structure for building the family unit, and there's no doubt about that. So if you were to call it a civil union, which we tried to do, but that wasn't good enough, right? That wasn't good enough. So that's one negative externality. So maybe we can come to terms there where you can see my point of view on that at least.
Yeah, I can definitely see. It might not be something that's important to me, but I can understand that it's important to a lot of Christian folk that a social institution that they viewed as primarily religious, that they think is to promote a nuclear heterosexual family, that is being undermined by using marriage, the word marriage, to describe a homosexual union. I don't think that's a concession that any of my more secular or pro-LGBTQ folks would concede, but I can see how religious people in particular would not like that.